Thank you, Chris, for that introduction, and actually very proud of the work he did with us on the Small Business Committee, and Oren and everyone here in American Compass for hosting me here tonight. A couple observations of seeing someone. We really only got to serve together for like 10 days, because I got confirmed pretty quickly. And by the way, the president was, I got 99 out of 100 votes because the vice president at the time had seated up and filled. And the president, for some period of time, expressed great concern about the fact that I had 99 votes in the Senate. He didn't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. But I told him recently, sir, you don't have to worry about that anymore. I don't think I'd get 99 votes now. And anyways, but thank you for this chance to speak to you. And by one more thing I want to tell you about, I spent, now that I'm in an executive branch, we oftentimes have to deal with the fact that, we want to do something. And it's like, well, but there's a statute or there's a law on the books that limit our ability to do things by executive action. It requires us to go through certain steps. And so I increasingly find myself saying, who the hell wrote these laws? And today I was reminded it was actually me who passed a certain law that stood as an impediment to quick action. So anyways, yeah, I've grown in my appreciation for the executive branch more and more each day. And but that's also, the media is going to say, oh, he's for an authoritarian form of government. No, I just, some of these laws I passed are getting in the way of my current life. So we have to work through it. We will. But thank you guys for this chance and the work that you've done. And I know that obviously you're going to spend a lot of time focused on domestic decisions, but I want to hopefully pitch you a little bit tonight about what I've learned and what I already believe coming into this job, that so much about what happens domestically, economically, is increasingly intertwined in geopolitics. It always has been. I think that's one of the lessons we forgot, but I think we've been reminded of that here most recently, and a number of events have brought that to bear. The first thing I would say is I think it's always been true. One of the amazing things, one of the reasons why history repeats itself, people like to say that, is because human nature does not change. Technology's changed, what the clothes we wear change, even languages change, governments change, a lot of things change. But the one thing that is unchanged is human nature. It's the same today as it was 5,000 years ago, and that's one of the reasons why history often repeats itself. And one of the things about human nature, I'm not trying to sound like a psychologist here, but one of the things that I think history proves is that one of the things we are programmed as people with is the desire to belong. In fact, if you notice, if you put humans anywhere, a handful of people anywhere, one of the first things they start doing is trying to create things that they can join or be a part of. And that's true for nationhood and nation states. The concept of nationhood. Now, it's a new concept. I mean, before that but we had something, we always had organizations, whether it was city-states or tribal organizations, but the advent of the nation-state is a normal evolution of human behavior because people think it's important to belong to something, and being part of a nation is important. And I think that's really true, obviously, increasingly in how geopolitical decisions are made. I think that's obvious and people understand that, but it's one of the things that we forgot. And we certainly forgot it at the end of the Cold War. If I can take you back to the end of the Cold War, and understand, for me, these are formative years because I grew up in the 80s, probably the greatest decade ever, confirmed by the, yeah. You know why I know this? Because my kids, I have young, well, I say young, they're like 24, 22, 20, just turned 20, and one who's 17. All they do is watch reruns from the 80s and 90s. They don't make good TV anymore. Everybody wants to watch stuff from the 80s and 90s, so that's just my pitch. The 70s were a dark period of time because of disco music. But in the 80s, we got a disco fan back there. But the 80s, we did, the hair was a little too big, but other than that. But going back, the 80s, you grew up, and I remember in 1983, now I'm aging, I just turned 54. I feel 55, but must be 1983. Do you guys remember a movie called oh gosh, what was it? It was about nuclear war. Do you remember this? It was No, War Games. That was a great movie. I'm talking about when I was on TV that scared the hell out of me. There was The Day After. Do you remember that movie, The Day After? This was traumatizing, and they had this thing on television. But basically grew up understanding that the world at any moment could end because the United States and the Soviet Union were headed for conflict and war, and that maybe we wouldn't even make it to 25 and things of this nature. I forgot about War Games. War Games is another good movie, where this guy hacks into the computer. This is an 80s hacker. This is not, I can remember the phone and the modem, and it What was that actor? It was the same, Matthew Broderick. It's a great movie. I know I'm completely off topic, but let me just tell you, I lived in Las Vegas at the time, and if you recall, the first city that he blows up in the war games is Las Vegas. And I was sitting in the audience, and so everybody's like chuckling. There's nothing funny about this Las Vegas strike. In any event,